In our last video, we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we checked out the Gathering Place, a favorite of the locals, took a stroll along the Arkansas River Walk, and had refreshments at a local brewery. Today,
we're in Chicago, Illinois.
Today we're in downtown Chicago. We're staying near the river and the Miracle Mile. No, it's not the Miracle Mile.
Magnificent.
We actually flew in on St. Patrick's Day and we didn't even bother unpacking our bags. We had to get down and see the Green River, and it is definitely green. I have no idea how they do that, but it's pretty cool. These pictures are along their pedestrian-only pathway called the River Walk, which is about 1.25 miles. It's a great way to see downtown. And if you're interested, 2 days later we actually did the architectural boat tour through here along the river, and there'll be another video coming soon on that.
This trip and subsequent video is pretty cool to me because my dad was actually born in Chicago and hasn't been back since. So Dad, if you're watching, this video is for you. Hope you enjoy.
We had a great view of the Chicago skyline from our hotel, as you can see. And no St. Paddy's Day would be complete without a trip to the Irish Bar.
The forecast for the next day was rain, and then the 2 days after that were supposed to be nice, so rather than spend some time filming on a not-so-nice day, we decided to take in the Chicago History Museum. And then afterwards, of course, we found ourselves in yet another bar and grill.
Delicious barbecue. As you can see, it was a beautiful day and we used that opportunity to explore. So the rest of this video takes us from our hotel in the River North area up to the Gold Coast neighborhood, which combines with Old Town, and then back down along the Magnificent Mile and out to Navy Pier.
So here in the River North section, several of the streets were blocked off, and we're not sure if that's just sort of remnants of the COVID situation where people had to eat outside, or if it's perhaps because there was a fun run that morning.
Check out this building. We love it in cities when there's a really old building stuck between high-rises. Now we're coming up on Washington Square Park, and you can see what a nice day it was. Across from the park were a couple unique buildings. This first one is the Newberry Library, which is a research collection and rare books. And then across the street there, tucked in by the high-rises, is the Harvest Bible Chapel.
So we're now entering the Gold Coast section, or perhaps the Old Town. We've seen both, not sure which one it is. But obviously by the pictures you can see what attracted us to this area were all the really interesting old row houses.
So this residential neighborhood is called the Gold Coast neighborhood. I just looked up some interesting information out of it. So it grew out of the Great Chicago Fire, and basically in 1882 a millionaire moved into that area and started to develop it. The houses here were truly amazing, and what was interesting is no two were alike, and even if they shared a wall, they might have completely different architectural styles, different colors. It was really fun to see this neighborhood. And then it borders Old Town. So unlike the Gold Coast district, which is actually an official district on the Historic Register, Old Town's boundaries are a little more vague. It's an area that's not an officially defined district, but it's near the north side in Lincoln Park. It's home to many of Chicago's older Victorian-era buildings. It also includes St. Michael's Church, which is one of 7 buildings that survived the Great Chicago Fire. A fun fact about Old Town is that until the early 1900s, it was known as the Cabbage Patch because it was a swampland that farmers came in and farmed things like celery and cabbage. So that name stuck long after they were farming there.
Okay, and that wraps up this section. Next stop is the
Magnificent Mile.
The Magnificent Mile, also known as the Mag Mile, is an upscale section of Chicago's downtown which runs along Michigan Avenue. It's the main thoroughfare between the Loop Business District and the Gold Coast, which we were just visiting. The Magnificent Mile is kind of an everything district. Clearly there's lots of tourists that are attracted to this area, upscale retailers, restaurants, residential buildings, financial buildings, just a little bit of everything, including some of the best looking buildings that we saw on this trip.
Even a church or two, as you just saw in that last picture. Check out this picture. This is a historic landmark. It's the old Chicago Water Tower, which was built in 1869 and survived the Great Fire of 1871. One of Chicago's more recognizable high-rises is the Wrigley Building. They started building it in 1920 and it opened in 1924. And something interesting about it is Chicago's first air-conditioned office building. You're now looking at the Tribune Tower, which is right across the street from the Wrigley Building. This was also built in the 1920s, and it used to house the Chicago Tribune newspaper. In 2018, they began converting it to luxury condos. Seems like that'd be a pretty fun place to live.
I'd say it's probably one of the more expensive places to live.
Agreed.
It's been a great day. We were downtown. We started in the Gold Coast residential area, then went down the Magnificent Mile and had lunch at Lizzie McNeil's. Now we're headed to Navy Pier.
The Navy Pier opened in 1916 and then during World War II became a training center for the U.S. Navy. Now, obviously, it is geared towards the tourist industry.
The aqua blue color of Lake Michigan here is not an optical illusion from the camera. It actually was that color. It was so vibrant, it was pretty amazing to see.
The Chicago skyline from the pier is just incredible, both sides of the pier. If you come to visit, be sure that you walk down one side and back on the other side because they're very different views, but both of them are really spectacular.
Navy Pier, as we know it today, has a lot of cultural events. There's a Shakespeare theater out there, there's concerts and other festivals, restaurants, and it's the starting point of a lot of the Lake Michigan boat tours.
So here we are at its farthest point, about to make the turn to head back on the other side. And as you can see, the skyline on that side, also just magnificent. One of the conundrums we face when we travel is whether to do any research ahead of time. In this case, Caroline has actually been to Chicago before multiple times, but I asked her not to really tell me anything about it, so that way I could see everything for the first time with fresh eyes. So I'm not sure if that's a better strategy or not, but if you watch our videos, you can tell we do a lot of our research after the fact because we don't actually know what we're walking into.
As you leave Navy Pier, you're in Grant Park, and then there's actually a little beach. And it was such a nice day. There were people sitting on the beach here on the edge of Lake Michigan. That takes you to the waterfront trail, which goes many miles in both directions. And it would have been fun to go down further, but we had already walked around a lot for the day, and it was time to wrap up our time on the waterfront.
If you've watched any of our other videos, you know I usually make some kind of mistake, but I do own up to it in this video. Here's my mistake. I recorded our final thoughts on hyperspeed, so hope you enjoyed that. With that said, we had a great time. As always, get off the couch, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you, Chicago. We had a wonderful time. Cheers.